is like, well, that's one of the things that's going on with Twitter. And I don't know if you know about this, but Milo Yiannopoulos, you know who he is?
Yeah, he got banned.
He got banned from Twitter for writing a bad review about Ghostbusters, which essentially confirms what he said about the regressive left, is that they're trying to stifle ideas. And then they're saying that he's responsible for the harassment of Leslie Jones, right? Which is horrible. You know, what people did. She's a fucking comedian,
She's
man.
also great.
She's great. She's funny as shit, man. But also, these are just trolls. All right, you're always going to have trolls, but he didn't do that. He didn't. I mean, he's not responsible for. He didn't sick them.
He wasn't the catalyst to the
But what he did was make an incredible amount of sense when he was describing that you cannot make fun of this movie. You cannot criticize this movie. If you do, you're labeled a misogynist. And he talked about how preposterous this movie is, that these women are all out kicking ass, and every man in the movie is a buffoon, and the women don't have any negative traits or qualities at all. They're super powerful and super awesome and hilarious, and the humor is non-existent because they put them in this restrictive box.
He got banned from Twitter for that.
Got banned from Twitter for this. They're blaming him on the harassment that Leslie experienced.
He incited the.
Well, they didn't incite anything. He made a provocative article about a piece of art. And that's what that movie is, a piece of art.
So they are guilty of censorship in the worst way.
Well, what they're doing is they're stifling ideas they don't agree with. And they've decided that, I mean, Twitter established some weird fucking thing called the Trust and Security Council or something like that, and they brought on all these social justice words. Jamie, look that up. What the fuck is that called that they tried to do? But they brought on all these people for this.
Sounds like Mao's China. Jesus Christ.
It's very, very bizarre.
Thought control.
It's thought control.
control.
Well, look, I'm against harassment. If you can stop people from being shitty to people, and you say, well, here's someone who's using Twitter and they're going after people in a very shitty way, but the problem with that is, look at how many fucking people have made shitty, horrible, evil comments about police officers. All police officers. Trust and Safety Council. When it comes to safety, everyone plays a role. Please make that larger so I can read it. Twitter empowers every voice to shape the world, but you can't do that unless you feel safe and confident enough to express yourself freely and connect with the world around you. To help give your voice more power, Twitter does not tolerate behavior intended to harass, intimidate, or use fear to silence another user's voice.
Very general, by the way. Listen how general that is. So now you have a council that is deciding whether or not you're good enough for Twitter. That's pretty amazing.
What the first thing they did with him, they couldn't figure out what to do with him. They took away his verification.
Wow.
What does that have to do with?
Wow.
What is that?
He's not verified anymore.
They took away his little blue check.
Yeah. It's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous, slippery slope. But we see this in our universities too.
But when you do exactly the same thing. When they did that, he gained 20,000 new followers immediately.
Wow.
Because there was a massive backlash.
Yeah.
So now they're in a place where there's even more backlash. Because if you look at the actual words that he typed versus what they're accusing him of, and it just doesn't stack up. It's clear that they don't like him because he's a Republican, he's a Trump supporter.
Sure.
He is a fucking troll. I love him. I think he's hilarious. He's a troll. But in the marketplace of ideas, you should be able to combat his trolling behavior, the
without
things that
a gag, without gagging him, without gagging him, engage him in a debate, in a vigorous, spirited debate. Yeah, don't gag the guy.
Right. If you really feel like he has done something egregious, he's done something that can be criticized, criticize it.
That's right.
And if he's actually harassing people, if he's actually saying, hey, go find Leslie Jones and throw dog shit at her or do something horrible to her or slash her tires or something like that. If he's actually doing something like that, yeah. Then he's doing he's committing a crime.
That's where you don't get up in a crowded movie theater and scream fire because you'll create a stampede, right?
Exactly.
Maya Angelou talked about that when she said where the Ku Klux Klan was saying, we have freedom of speech, and Maya Angelou said, your freedom of speech can end when you're literally telling people to hang me.
Yes.
Because and you're telling a mob and I'm standing right there that inciting them. That's probably where, we should take a look at things. I mean, and we all know the line We all
don't
know
all
about.
know,
No,
though.
I'm saying that there is something called common decency, and people like to jump to these extremes, but it's not. It doesn't inform the debate. I think what you're saying is so important, and the idea that you've got to create safe haven for those that you agree with and disagree with. And
I disagree with Milo all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, he and I are friends, and I've had him on the podcast twice. And when we talk, I mock him. I mean, we have fun. I mean, but he's a good guy. But he's just really right-wing. I also think his trolling is so fucking sophisticated. And he's one of the ones that was saying that he believes that Melania, how do you say her name? Trump's
Melania
wife?
Trump, yeah.
Melania, is that her name?
Yeah.
He thinks that they did it on purpose. He thinks Trump is a master troll, and he thinks that the plagiarism was on purpose because now more people are talking about it. And then more people are... I don't know if that's true, but I think it's hilarious that... Did you know that his tweet... Trump's tweet that he put out to congratulate his wife for speaking is exactly verbatim the same tweet that Obama put out to congratulate his wife for speaking.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Wow.
Every single word in the exact same order.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty calculated.
I don't know. I don't think he writes his own tweets.
That apparently wasn't true.
Is it fake?
I think that was like photoshopped.
Oh, those motherfuckers. They got me.
See?
Oh, that was the other thing they did. I'm sorry about that, folks. That's another thing that they did with Leslie Jones, which she was really upset, is that trolls were taking words and putting them, like they were taking a Photoshop and making her, like her name, like what she had, her Twitter name, and then writing horrible shit about gay people and then putting it in there.
Jesus.
But Leslie Jones, and again, I love her. I think she's really funny. She said some kind of fucked up things on Twitter herself. And, things that can be construed as racist. One of the things she said, like, about white people being shit. Fuck white people shit, like something like that. It was on Breitbart. See if you'd find the actual things that they were saying that, like, how could Leslie Jones get away with saying this, but Milo gets banned for writing an article? And I'm not... But I think what Leslie said, like white people shit, it could have been that she was saying like someone did something and goddamn white people, this is some white people shit.
Yeah.
Like
she's funny.
Like when people climb into a zoo and try to fucking hug a tiger.
Yeah.
That's white people.
Yeah.
That's white people
Yeah,
shit.
that's funny though. And Leslie, anybody who knows Leslie
Yeah, look at
knows
there.
she's
Lord have mercy.
a great. She's just a fucking doll.
Lord have mercy, white people shit. What does that mean though?
It's white people shit. Like they do
But
crazy
I don't know.
stuff.
I mean, what does that mean? Like, why did she say that? Like, what is that about? Imagine a white
Yeah,
person. But look
but-
at this. Imagine a white person saying that about black people.
I understand, but I think we've heard this before. It's fine. Leslie Jones is not a racist. Leslie Jones has never been anything but really kind to people around her.
Okay, but hold on a second, because sometimes people say things that are racist, and they're not racist. They're just trying to be funny.
Yes.
Like, I mean, how
We're
many...
all too sensitive sometimes about
Jeff
it.
Ross is hilarious, and he says a lot of racial stuff when he
Sarah
roasts
Silverman,
people.
yeah.
Sarah Silverman. But Jeff Ross in particular, because he's really good at roasting people.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stuff that he says, like, he crosses what some people would say is a line. But what is he doing? He's being funny.
There is a difference. So a lot of times, if you're Hispanic, if you're
If you're from a marginalized group, you can get away with it.
You can get away with it because you all share in a common experience of repression.
Right. Gay people can mock straight people. Go ahead, mock me for liking pussy. Who cares?
That's what I mean. Because
Right?
we've never had to pay a price for that kind of oppression. We haven't. Not physically and not economically.
Well, that's not true,
you
because
know.
we've been oppressed for being straight forever. It's a constant
Damn
thing. People are just so mad that we're
You're
not
such
gay.
a breeder.
Fucking breeder.
Yeah.
What are you out there making babies?
Exactly.
Those fucking Otto and George had a great line. Otto and George, if you don't know, Otto was this fucking great, hilarious comedian who had a puppet named George, and his puppet was evil and these bushy eyebrows, and the puppet would say these fucked up things, and Otto would go, I can't believe you're saying that. Like, what the hell?
great.
And the puppet would say, he goes, I don't understand where all these fucking queers are coming from. For a group of people that can't breed, where the fuck are they all coming from? It's just like you had to, like, he'd say like purposely ignorant shit
Yeah.
as his puppet.
Yeah.
We interrupt our regularly scheduled programming of mocking the liberal lunatics and exposing the fake news to bring you this important news bulletin about new censorship policies that are rolling out and being implemented on YouTube that have affected and will continue to affect not only my channel, but every channel that dares to tell the truth. As this Gizmodo article explains, YouTube has a new naughty corner for controversial religious and, quote, supremacist videos. Well, what does that mean, you ask? YouTube has clarified how it plans to handle videos that don't violate any of its policies, but still contain, quote, offensive religious and supremacist content. They're going to hide them and make sure that they can't make any money. In a blog post today, YouTube provided a better sense of what that stance entails. Now, when YouTube decides a flagged video doesn't break content policy, but still contains controversial religious or, quote, supremacist content, the video will be put in a limited state. Here, the video will exist in a sort of limbo where it won't be recommended or monetized. It also won't be included in the suggested videos or allowed to have comments or likes on it. This new approach will apply to the desktop version of YouTube within the next few weeks and on mobile soon after that. Right-wing alternative media figures and, quote, conspiracy theorists have been complaining for weeks that YouTube is already manipulating the algorithms to limit their reach and revenue. And guess what? When I clicked on this hyperlink, it's linked to one of my videos, the one that I did previously explaining how YouTube had locked one of my videos on private, exposing CNN, claiming that it was just misleading. Oh, and by the way, yesterday's video, the one about how celebrities always know what's best for us, YouTube placed that one on an age restriction, which means that only people with a YouTube account could view it, so that when you guys were posting the link and sharing it on Facebook or Twitter, when somebody clicked on it who didn't have a YouTube account, they couldn't watch it. Here's the YouTube analytics page for that very video, which shows that when they put the age restriction on it, the views dropped by over 50%. Each one of these blocks represents an hour of time, and so I started tweeting to YouTube on Twitter, and thankfully many of you did as well, and surprisingly they got back with me pretty quick and removed the restriction. So thanks for always having my back, guys, and helping to apply pressure when it's needed, but unfortunately, this is only going to get more prevalent. In fact, yesterday, YouTube deleted the entire channel of a Canadian college professor, this guy, Jordan B. Peterson, who dares to say such hateful things like, there are only 2 genders on his YouTube channel. And thankfully, after it started making headlines, here's one from the Washington Times, people started applying pressure to YouTube, and they probably reluctantly restored his channel. YouTube has also admitted that they're literally going to start manipulating the search results for certain topics and show people videos to try to debunk the ideas that they're looking up. I'm not kidding. So, for example, if you're looking for a video about why it's crazy to say that there's 85 different genders, they're going to manipulate the search results to show videos saying why there should be 85 different genders. We've started to roll out features from Jigsaw's redirect method to YouTube. When people search for sensitive keywords on YouTube, they will be redirected towards a playlist of curated YouTube videos that directly confront and debunk violent extremist messages, which also just means the truth. We also continue to amplify YouTube voices speaking out against hate and radicalization through our YouTube Creators for Change program. What are the YouTube Creators for Change, you may wonder? It's a group of social justice warrior YouTubers who have been chosen and just given a bunch of money in order to help them produce more videos. Oh, and by the way, who did YouTube team up with to help them determine which videos are sensitive and extremist and offensive? The ADL. The same organization which literally labeled Pepe the Frog, a cartoon frog, as a hate symbol. Pepe the Frog designated a hate symbol by the ADL, a cartoon frog. Oh, and what a coincidence that these new censorship policies are being implemented just a few weeks after the Sun Valley Conference, which is basically like the Bilderberg Group meeting of the media. Oh, wait, what's this? Oh, it's YouTube's CEO, Susan Wojcicki, meeting with Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, where she tweeted out, "Thanks for coming by the YouTube headquarters, Cenk. Great talking with you." This is the same woman, by the way, who, when asked by CNN what kind of sexism problems she's faced in Silicon Valley, said that people interrupt her sometimes and say things that are annoying. So I think it's safe to say that the Young Turks, the big liberal royalty of YouTube, aren't going to have any of their videos demonetized or have any restrictions placed on them. Nope, special treatment for the Young Turks. By the way, I really appreciate all you guys who are supporting me through PayPal and through Patreon and who are watching my back. I couldn't do this without you, so thank you very much. For those who aren't aware, since April when the big advertising apocalypse hit YouTube, they basically mass demonetized news channels, and it's been absolutely devastating for full-time creators. How devastating, you ask? Well, let me just have the CEO of Patreon explain.
It sucks that it's 2017 and you've got creators with millions of fans getting paid a few $100 a month. That sucks.
It does suck, and I wasn't joking when I said if you work at McDonald's, you could probably make more money than a YouTuber with 1 million subscribers. So thanks again to all my Patreons, and you guys who got my back through PayPal. For those of you who aren't familiar with what Patreon is, which by the way has some vulnerabilities in and of itself, it's a way that you can tip creators like me just by tossing in $1 or $2 or $5 or whatever you want a month, and it helps to keep channels like mine going. Unfortunately, Patreon does have some flaws. They recently shut down, as some of you may know, the page of Lauren Southern because they just didn't like the kinds of videos she was making, and so we're going to likely start to see them tightening the noose around people's necks with restricting their terms of service as well. But for now, my page is up. You can check it out in the link in the description below. That's pretty much the gist of it for now, so we'll have to continue to monitor this and continue to speak up and expose this because it's only going to get more Orwellian as time goes on. Because not only do they want us to shut up, they want us to be shut down. So thanks again for watching my back. Stay tuned. I'll see you tomorrow.
A look at what is being reported by someone who uses the platform Periscope, which is owned by Twitter. This person, his name is Jeff Goldberg. If you are a user on Periscope, you may have been familiar with his work in broadcasting in New York City. He's probably well known for capturing the artistic and street musicians that are prevalent through New York City. He was very skilled at capturing that experience and bringing it to live stream. So he goes, being targeted by Periscope for exposing the truth. My Periscope account was permanently suspended 2 days ago. Considering the amount of time and money I've poured into building an audience on Periscope over the last couple of years, this is beyond frustrating. Since Periscope refuses to provide specific details as to why my account has been suspended, I can only speculate. I've repeatedly asked Periscope to provide additional information, to no avail. Now, before I share the ridiculousness of my Periscope experience over the past few days, I want to be very clear about something. I fully realize the risks associated with building an audience elsewhere, i.e. on a platform owned by someone else, as opposed to, say, building one's own email list. This is not about me being upset that in due time, Periscope will cease to exist as a standalone app, and I, along with other Periscope users, will lose the audiences that I have diligently built. This is about what appears to be censorship, poor communication, a lack of accountability, and absolutely zero transparency provided by Periscope to its users. The 3 points have characterized how Periscope has operated since its inception. I first noticed that my Periscope account had been deleted this past Friday night. My immediate reaction was to fire off a tweet. Additional context will be provided shortly. Seems someone has disabled my account for showcasing screenshot from one of the VIP badge holders' streams. What a joke. Next, I checked my email, figuring Periscope would have written to me to communicate that they were disabling my account. And after seeing nothing from them, I emailed several Periscope employees. I also copied the Periscope help email address to let them know that my account was currently disabled and asked that they immediately restore it. After all, as I stated to them, I'd done nothing wrong. Considering it was Friday night, kudos to the Periscope team for getting my account restored within 30 minutes of receiving my email. While I was happy that my account had been restored so quickly, I still wanted to know what I had done to justify Periscope disabling my account. I emailed that same group to thank them for restoring my account and asked them to please provide me with an explanation as to why my account was suspended. Here is the response I received from Periscope. This particular email from Periscope is a form letter response. So instead of reading this, this is, if anybody has been affiliated with Periscope or broadcasting, you have seen this email before. It is it is a form response. Jeff continues, no specific answer was provided other than stating that one or more of my broadcasts was found to be in violation of the Periscope community guidelines. Periscope's community guidelines can be found here, and that is a link back to not the complete list, but it's a portion of the community guidelines. Before I continue, I'd like to highlight there are hundreds of Periscope broadcasts daily which break several of their guidelines, where in most cases, those actions don't result in an account suspension. Periscope's non-specific response is followed up with a threat, namely that another violation of this kind will result in the permanent suspension of my account. This, of course, is an unacceptable response. How am I, or anyone for that matter, to avoid another violation and permanent suspension when I don't know what specifically is being alleged to have been violated in the first place? I still have no idea what caused Periscope to suspend my account 3 days ago, hence I can only speculate. I want to interject here for a moment. I'm not disagreeing with Jeff's comment on his sense of justice. Not at all, because we do believe that we're owed a response as to what aspect has been violated. It's like being pulled over and giving a citation, but you're never told what the citation is for. Just suck it up, buttercup, and take your penalty. In the terms of service world of social media applications, this is not unusual. They have no obligation to tell you specifically why they violated you, what you violated, and they don't have any obligation to tell you. They don't have to tell you what you did wrong, and you don't actually have to have done something wrong. It's their platform. For any reason, if they don't want you on there, they can kick you off. Now, you may not like that, but that is an unintended consequence of us being the product on somebody else's platform. But I don't disagree with his comments. A side star. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Jeff, why did you tweet a screenshot of a half-exposed breast? Periscope CEO Kayvon Z. Well, if you look closely at that screenshot, you can see that it isn't from an account that is a silver badge, meaning that it was a broadcast from an account that is part of Periscope's VIP program. Among other things, the VIP program provides increased visibility to accounts that have been accepted into the program. A badge is akin to Periscope saying, this account provides content that we're comfortable putting in front of our viewers. Hence, increased visibility is one of the benefits provided to the members of the VIP program. But for various reasons, and I will save that for a different post, I've been critical of this program since before it even officially launched. Moreover, I have publicly criticized the program on several occasions, which one of the earliest taking place here. That link has been disabled. Given my, that video has been taken down. Given my vocal criticism, I wasn't surprised, though I continue to be appalled at how poorly Periscope communicates with its users, that Periscope denied my admission into their VIP program, despite meeting all their outlined criteria. Similar to my recent dealings with Periscope, they would not provide me with a specific explanation, and once again chalked it up to me being in violation of their community guidelines. Fact is, Periscope didn't appreciate my vocal criticism and wanted to send me a message. I was never in violation of their community guidelines. And Jeff, his observations, that could be very well true. And if you're going to be a critic of someone, they have the ability to stop you from being critical. Intersectional thinking is invaded our culture at this point, and their voice, they have the power. They can push the delete button. So let's continue. After discovering the half-exposed breast stream while browsing what was live on Periscope, I decided to have some fun and did what I felt was a humorous broadcast, poking fun at Periscope's VIP program. That broadcast can be found here. I'm going to click on that and see if you will see that. Okay, here is his post that contained inside of Periscope. Periscope is a very disturbing underbelly. This is a type of rampant across platform. Okay, we're going to click on this. And it says broadcast not found. So that was taken down. Again, since it was never communicated to me, I can only assume that this was the broadcast that resulted in my account being disabled. There was no nudity shown during the broadcast. After all, I was simply sharing a screenshot from an account that Periscope had admitted into their VIP program. I suspect Periscope will remove this broadcast, which they did, as they've removed another broadcast of mine in the past to cover their tracks. Aside end. Given my dissatisfaction with Periscope's response as to why my account was initially disabled, I opted to do a broadcast late Friday night, early Saturday morning to make a point. The point I wanted to make was that Periscope is full of content that violates community guidelines, yet for some reason they have chosen to unjustly disable my account. The reason why, of course, is I've long been a vocal critic of Periscope, while simultaneously loving the app. Yes, these are not mutually exclusive. All of my criticism comes from a place of wanting the app to thrive. That stream where I hosted a game that I called Periscope Roulette was viewed by nearly 15,000 live viewers. There's the stream they didn't like, that I exposed the truth to 15,000 people. Now, the purpose of this stream was to highlight that Periscope is full of content that is objectively in violation of their community guidelines. I used a second device to stream the perspective of a Periscope user who is navigating within the app and looking for content to watch. We discovered content a number of ways. Viewers would suggest a location, and we would use a map view to see what was happening there. We would browse through viewer-suggested Periscope curated channels. We would search for specific keywords. We would check the watch tab of my account, to name a few. Including the viewer participation was essential in my mind, as I wanted to illustrate that I did no prior research to identify these scopes. Basically, I wanted to showcase the user experience of someone trying to discover content to watch on Periscope. If it appeared that there was nudity, that there may be nudity on the horizon, I would quickly shift my camera to my table rather than what was being displayed on my second device. I think that is noble. I think in this demonstration that Jeff did, he was, in his broadcast, he was using it for educational and instructional purposes in compliance with fair use. And he had a filter that if he had anticipated something coming up which was, in his interpretation, a violation of the community guidelines, nudity, he would move the camera. So he was more proactive than the platform had done, because apparently that broadcast was visible that he was forced to move his camera from. So it's really confusing, because you don't know whether that content has been approved. If it is still live, if objection material is still live, it's only logical to think that Periscope has approved that content. Let's continue. On a few occasions, this experiment landed us in streams where, what appeared to be, minors were being asked to remove their clothing by those viewing the streams. In each instance, I would report the stream via Periscope's in-app reporting tool, and advise those streaming to stay clothed. Additionally, I would encourage those viewing my stream to enter said stream, and they would similarly report and urge the broadcasters to stay clothed. There was one group of girls, in fact, that even thanked us for urging them to stay dressed. Although this was the first time I had personally encountered what appeared to be minors in streams full of predators, pedophiles looking to exploit them, there have been several Periscope users who had previously encountered this and shared their experiences with me. I can say that I have had conversations with Jeff relative to my activities on various social media platforms regarding what happens inside there for young kids unsupervised. It is a very real issue, and that one that cannot be swept under the rug. Periscope is full of many camgirl types, which Jeff doesn't have an issue with. However, this becomes problematic if the others, particularly minors, seek to emulate the content that is so readily accessible to them on Periscope, and in many cases given increased visibility as part of the Periscope's VIP program. I would urge Periscope to be more transparent around how their reporting process works, in addition to improving and optimizing this flow overall. After many people had reported, these streams seemed to continue far longer than I would have expected before they were finally removed. I noticed that my Periscope Roulette stream was removed by Periscope Saturday morning. A few hours later, my Periscope account was deleted once more. Immediately emailed Periscope once again to ask why my account had been disabled. Here's the response I received from them. Hey Jeff, your account has been permanently suspended because one or more of your broadcasts were found to be in violation of the Periscope community guidelines. Jeff had said, Why specifically is my account currently disabled? Referring me to Periscope community guidelines is not sufficient. Why was it disabled in the first place without any specific reason? How am I to know what to avoid doing in the future to avoid your threat of permanent suspension when no specific reason was provided for the first time my account was disabled? Please reactivate my account as soon as possible. Once again, this is entirely unwarranted. Now, just coincidentally, the Daily Telegraph published this piece titled, "Twitter has become a faux porn social media platform, leaving experts concerned for children." A few days ago, it calls attention to Periscope's potential role in functioning as a conduit for child sexual exploitation. And this article was provided a couple months ago, but just recently there was a large piece in the news in the BBC, which is circulated through the U.S., which talked to expose some challenges with the Periscope platform as well. And Periscope did not reply to the news piece other than saying that Periscope has a zero tolerance policy regarding inappropriate material on their platform. But that perception was an illusion. He said the problem with Twitter doesn't really police its hashtags, so what it means is if children or young people want to focus on a particular issues like pornography via these not easily identifiable hashtags, their parents are none the wiser. No kidding. He said the dangers on Twitter were immense, including potentially linking children directly to pedophiles via live video. Now, people are finally speaking out. Frankly, this is a good thing. Again, I can only speculate as to why Periscope has permanently deleted my account. But this whole thing reeks of censorship, and Periscope wanting to hide their app's very dirty underbelly. Periscope, please get your act together. Additionally, please restore my account, which has been unjustly suspended. To this day, Jeff Goldberg's account is still, it's down. He doesn't live broadcast on Periscope anymore. And he was a valuable part of the community. And he was an activist in a sense in drawing attention to some things which people would have benefited from being aware to protect their kids. So I'm going to continue this in conversation.
Thank you, Ms. Strawson. Mr. Shapiro.
It's an honor to testify. It's an honor to testify before you here today. The reason that I'm with you is that I speak on dozens of college campuses every year, so I have some firsthand experience with the anti-First Amendment activities that have been taking place on the college campuses. I've encountered anti-free speech measures, administrative cowardice, even physical violence at campuses ranging from California State University at Los Angeles to University of Wisconsin at Madison, which is driving the legislation that Ms. Demings was talking about, to Penn State University to UC Berkeley, and I am not alone. In order to understand what's been going on at some of our college campuses, it's necessary to explore the ideology that provides the impetus for a lot of the protesters who violently obstruct events, pull fire alarms, assault professors and even other students, and the impetus for administrators who all too often humor these protesters. Free speech is under assault because of a three-step argument made by the advocates and justifiers of violence. The first step is they say that the validity or invalidity of an argument can be judged solely by the ethnic, sexual, racial, or cultural identity of the person making the argument. The second step is that they claim those who say otherwise are engaging in what they call verbal violence. And the final step is they conclude that physical violence is sometimes justified in order to stop such verbal violence. So let's examine each of these three steps in turn. First, the philosophy of intersectionality. This philosophy now dominates college campuses as well as a large segment, unfortunately, of today's Democratic Party, and suggests that straight white Americans are inherently the beneficiaries of white privilege and therefore cannot speak on certain policies, since they have not experienced what it's like to be black or Hispanic or gay or transgender or a woman. This philosophy ranks the value of a view not based on the logic or merit of the view, but on the level of victimization in American society experienced by the person espousing the view. Therefore, if you're an LGBT black woman, your view of American society is automatically more valuable than that of a straight white male. The next step in the logic is obvious. If a straight white male, or anybody else who ranks lower on the victimhood scale, says something contrary to the viewpoint of the higher-ranking intersectionality identity, that person has engaged in a microaggression. As NYU social psychologist Jonathan Haidt writes, microaggressions are small actions or word choices that seem on their face to have no malicious intent, but that are thought of as a kind of violence nonetheless. You don't have to actively say anything insulting to microaggress. Somebody merely needs to take offense. If, for example, you say that society ought to be colorblind, you're microaggressing certain identity groups who have been victimized by a non-colorblind society. Note, Microaggressions, as the name suggests, are not merely insults. They are aggressions. They are the equivalent to physical violence. Just 2 weeks ago, psychologist Lisa Feldman Barrett of Northeastern University published an essay in the New York Times suggesting that words should be seen as physical violence because they can cause stress, and stress causes physical harm. Thus, Feldman suggested it is reasonable, scientifically speaking, to ban or restrict speech you do not like at your school. This is both inane and dangerous. That's because it leads to the final logical step. Words you don't like deserve to be fought physically. When I spoke at California State University at LA, one professor threatened students who sponsored me by offering to fight them. He then posted a slogan on the door of his office stating, "The best response to microaggression is macroaggression." As Haidt writes, this is why the idea that speech is violence is so dangerous. It tells the members of a generation already beset by anxiety and depression that the world is a far more violent and threatening place than it really is. It tells them that words, ideas, speakers can literally kill them. Even worse, at a time of rapidly rising political polarization in the United States, it helps a small subset of that generation justify political violence. Indeed, protesters all too often engage in physically violent disruption when they believe their identity group is under verbal attack by someone, usually conservative, but not always. Not only do some administrators look the other way, at Middlebury College, Cal State LA, Berkeley, Evergreen, actual crimes were committed and almost nobody has been arrested. But they actively forbid events from moving forward, creating a heckler's veto. The notion that if you are physically violent enough, you can get administrators to kowtow to you, to bow before you, by canceling an event you disagree with altogether. All of this destroys free speech. But just as importantly, it turns students into snowflakes, craven and pathetic, looking for an excuse to be offended so they can earn points in the intersectionality Olympics and then use those points as a club with which to beat opponents. A healthy nation requires an emotionally and intellectually vigorous population ready to engage in open debate at all times. Shielding college students from opposing viewpoints makes them simultaneously weaker and more dangerous. We must fight that process at every step. And that begins by acknowledging that whatever we think about America and where we stand, we must agree on this fundamental principle. All of our views should be judged on their merits, not on the color or sex or sexual orientation of the speaker, and those views should never be banned on the grounds that they offend someone. Thanks so much.